Welcome to the Geek 101 podcast, 1999 retro review special, Wild Wild West. Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. How did we arrive in this dark situation? I'm Ariel Rada.
And I'm Andy Bowman.
And today we are joined by special guests from the Ultra 64 podcast to review the 1999 masterpiece Wild Wild West. So why don't you say hi, guys, and introduce yourselves again to the audience.
Hi, everybody. My name's Steve Guntley from the Ultra 64 podcast, and it's very nice to see you all.
I am Woody Siskowski, and I make a nasty woman. Also from the Ultra 64 podcast.
So, Ariel, already you got something wrong.
Oh, go on.
Okay? The name of this movie is Wild Wild West.
Instead of... Oh, I'm sorry. Wild Wild West. Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Wawa.
Yeah, it's like the convenience store in Pennsylvania. It's the Wild Wild West.
It's baby talk. It's
Yeah.
when where babies want to go to Dawson City is the Wawa West.
All right, I have a funny story in regards to the pronunciation of wild. Do you know that song, Wild Thoughts by Rihanna?
No, not off the top of my head.
Well, she goes like, Wild Wild Thoughts. And my sister was like, there's a lot of songs about convenience stores lately because Beyonce had 7-Eleven and now Rihanna has a Wawa Thoughts. And I was like, wait. You think it says Wawa Thoughts? And for those of you who don't know, Wawa is like a it's like a gas station convenience store type thing. So there we go. This is the Wawa
Sure,
West.
Rihanna shops there a lot.
Yeah.
There was a Taylor Swift's Quick Stop. Yeah, that was a good song. That was a banger.
Man, I'm excited to see what else we get. Maybe a Sheets from, from somebody. I don't know.
I don't know if you guys have this or this is strictly like a Midwest kind of thing, but like there's a store chain in Colorado and Nebraska and a couple of places like that called Come and Go, but they spell it K-U-M. Come and Go. It always made me grossed out a little bit.
Why?
But that could easily be a pop song today too.
Why would they call it that?
I don't know.
I
don't
even know what that would be a reference to.
This is the thing. I really think every single company in the world should have at least one 13-year-old boy on their payroll to catch things like this. Like if that one little boy in the corner who's been doing nothing all day starts giggling when you suggest your store name, then you got to rename your store.
Yeah, every company should have like a guy. You know, if you ever watch World War Z, where they're like, yeah, we have the 10th man. The 10th man always says no or yes to a unanimous decision. Well, there should always be a guy in a room to be like, what if we sound like an idiot? Like, you got to have an idiot-proof guy.
I feel like this is a very good segue to talking about Wild Wild West because there's a lot of moments in this movie where you're like, how did this make it into the movie? Didn't they have someone in the room to be like, maybe let's cut down on the racist jokes a little bit,
just like 5%. You know.
Okay.
So, Steve, I'm in Oklahoma right now, and we do have come and goes.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And I moved here from Arkansas and before that North Carolina, and the first time I saw one, I had to pull over because I was laughing so hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I was the same way. I didn't see it for the first time until I was traveling through Nebraska, and then I saw one in Colorado. And again, it's just now I giggle every time I see it.
Well, I do think some of the businesses, I'm sure, do it on purpose. Like, I feel like In-N-Out Burger, like, really leans into it.
They're a famously sexy company, In-N-Out Burger.
I think that they sell merchandise that deliberately leans into that.
Yeah, the come and sip or something, come and suck. Like a cup, like a special Slurpee cup, right?
Hilarious.
Oh man!
All right. Okay, let's.
You don't want to give corporations more marketing ideas, Ariel.
I feel like we've already written a better movie than Wild Wild West.
Oh man, I think if we get one or two more lines, then we've definitely improved the jokes on the script there. Okay, let's get into it here. We're here to do. Andy and I are going to be retro reviewing a bunch of films from 1999. Many people regard 1999 as the best movie year ever. Everybody's talking about it since it's 20 years later. Wild Wild West or Wild Wild West will not make a list of best films from 1999, but it does make a list of films worthy to review on the Geek 101 list. I don't know where to start. All right. Can somebody, any of you three, give me a 1 to 3 sentence synopsis of this film?
I can try.
I can give you,
I
can give you a 1 to 3 sentence synopsis of the first scene.
Go ahead. Let's start with the first
scene. Yeah, let's
scene.
hear the first scene.
Okay. We get to see Will Smith's balls.
Wait, really?
Oh, you totally see his balls. I wrote that in my notes. Yeah, I wrote that.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I messaged
I need to
Ariel
rewatch this right
yesterday.
now.
The
Yeah,
timestamp.
you got a timestamp.
It's 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah. You see some definite Will Smith ball sack from behind. Yeah. There's no denying it.
All right, well, my opinion of this movie just dramatically improved.
All right, A+. We're out. We're out of here.
I mean, it's a buddy cop comedy set in post-Civil War West.
It's
With the giant spider.
yeah, it's steampunk cowboys.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. It's it's Men in Black on horses.
Yeah, it is. It really is riding that success of
Cool. Yeah.
It really feels like, hey, Men in Black did real well for us. How can we replicate this and put Will Smith with another uppity white guy?
Yeah.
Same director, though.
Same director.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
So I did some research here.
I don't think the direction in this movie is necessarily the problem, but we'll
There
get there.
are some flashes of style, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I looked up the director's filmography. His name is Barry Sonnenfeld. His notable works before Wild West are The Addams Family,
Which are amazing. Both those movies are fantastic.
right. He directed both. He directed Get Shorty, which is a critically successful film, and he directed the first Men in Black movie. But he also directed the second Men in Black movie, and he also directed the third.
The third one I will go to bat for. The second one I can't defend. I will go to bat for the third Men in Black. It's actually quite clever.
So I think that this director is somebody like, let's say, Colin Trevorrow, who, or like, we don't have much evidence, but J.A. Bayona, who did the second Jurassic World.
Oh, right.
I think he's just one of those directors where it's just like, yeah, man, like, I'll come direct your script, but if your script is bad and your producers are bad, like, we're not making a good movie here. And I think it just goes to show that, unless your name is Edgar Wright, Tarantino, what's the guy who does all the...
Paul Thomas Anderson, Wes Anderson.
Like PTA, Wes Anderson. Like, unless you're one of those guys who is just like, yeah, I control every single level of the film. Like, movies like this get made.
Didn't he also direct the movie where Kevin Spacey turns into a cat?
Oh, I think he did. I think he
Nine
did.
Lives.
Wait, man, that is a movie that has aged poorly. Yikes.
And you mean that's poorly in the last 3 years?
Yeah. In the last 3 years, it's gone rotten already.
Oh, yeah, because it started out
It was
so
great.
fresh.
I mean, before that, it was the best man turns into a cat movie I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
9 Lives, yikes. Okay. So we have a set of questions that we usually ask in regards to our retro reviews. We'll go around the table here. What were our first impressions when we watched Wild Wild West in 1999?
I loved it. I was a big fan of this movie. I mean, I feel like as someone who was, I guess, an 11-year-old boy in 1999, I was a huge Will Smith fan, as kind of the whole nation was. Everyone was kind of riding a Will Smith high. Sure. And I feel like he's generally one of the most charismatic actors that in film history.
Oh, yeah, no question.
And, in his music career, like, for being a nerdy white boy, he sort of was able to have music that felt hip, despite the fact that it was really quite lame. But you felt cool listening to it. And so this movie, Wild Wild West, was right up my alley. I watched it. I liked it. And I probably watched it many, many more times on home video. And it wasn't until... and then I just kind of forgot about it for many years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until recently that I realized, hey, not everyone thinks this movie is great.
Yeah.
Which is kind of similar to my experience. I feel, the last time you had us on was for the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I feel like I'm going to develop a reputation amongst the loyal listeners as someone who likes terrible movies. Because I like the Super Mario movie a lot.
Yeah.
And I also like Wild Wild West a lot. Randomly, the only two soundtracks I owned, Super Mario Brothers movie, Wild Wild West soundtrack. So that's me.
I came from a different perspective on this. I feel like I do tend to agree. I read the Brian Rafferty's book on best movie year ever, and I really liked it. And I think he makes a pretty good argument for that being like one of the best movie years ever. And it was certainly a formative one for me. So I was coming into this stage like, when this movie came out, I had kind of just discovered Tarantino. I was getting really into Kevin Smith, and I was kind of like exploring different like indie filmmakers and things like this.
It's worth it's worth adding for me. You're a little older than I am.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I would not have been sort of allowed to see those kind of movies.
Right.
So,
yeah. I was like 14,
and this
15.
movie sort of really leans towards a younger demographic.
Definitely.
Which is weird because it's like all the jokes are sex jokes.
That's
but anyway,
the thing, yeah.
Go ahead.
I think at this point I was turning into my pretentious film lover, film snob person where I didn't want to like, I turned my nose up all at like big blockbusters and things like that. But I also still watched them all because I had no life and I watched every movie that came out. So I watched this one when it came out on video. And I remember thinking it was really dumb, and then I just kind of put it aside and didn't think about it for 20 years. And then I think last year, on a whim, it came up on Netflix, and so I watched it, and I'm like, this is staggeringly bad. Like, I am shocked at how bad this is. Like, I remember it being dumb. I did not remember it being this actively loathsome. And I talked to Woody about that.
Steve posted on Facebook about how much he hated this movie. And I commented, I'm like, no, Steve, that movie is fun.
Yeah. And this became a point of debate. So a group of friends, we all got together and we set up a projector screen in our friend's backyard. And we played Wild Wild West under a hot summer night. We all sat and watched it, and we had some drinks, and we laughed and had a good time in an effort for me to try and persuade people that this movie was actually really bad. And it wound up backfiring on me. Every single person wound up like really loving the movie.
Oh, I wouldn't go that
Not
far.
loving, but like everybody really enjoyed it, and I was the only one like being all grouchy about it.
But the funny thing about it is you basically you were like, I hate this movie, and the end result was you had to watch it again that same week.
Yes.
And then the end result is now you're on this podcast again, since we talked about it, and thus you had to spend another $5 to rent it and watch it again this week.
Like, the really depressing part is I paid for this movie often enough that I should have just bought it by now. But I can't
you own so many movies.
I could probably find this on DVD for like $1 somewhere, and I keep renting it because I can't quite bring myself to have this in my collection.
And bear in mind, Steve probably owns about 2,000 movies.
I own everything.
And somehow Wild Wild West is not worthy to be in there.
This one's just so odious to me. I don't know. Sorry, I've taken the mic long enough. I'll pass it around the table here.
How about you, Andy?
Okay, so I have never seen this movie in its entirety in one sitting. I mostly watched it on TBS late at night in my my teenage years. I always thought it was just a forgettable movie and not the amazing masterpiece that it truly is.
Yeah, Andy was like DMing me on Twitter last night saying, "Yeah, this movie is amazing." I'm like, I don't know you well enough to know if you're joking or not, but I'm prepared to fight you.
I don't know me well enough to know if I'm joking or not about that. So many things are beautiful about this movie in all the wrong ways. First of all, well, we will discuss this, but there is one line in the movie that just sums up this podcast very well, which is, it's East meets West.
That would not have been the line that I would have picked to sum up this movie.
Isn't that the tagline to Shanghai Noon?
Well, she says West meets East, which is really jarring because nobody ever puts it in that
right,
order.
Yeah.
So just to provide context, this is for the very exotically dressed Asian call girl that Will Smith's character Jim West meets at the party, and who is just immediately trying to seduce him with the very sexy line, West meets East. And
yes.
It's just, and you're like, what? Why is that a line?
Yeah.
It's
also, her name is Miss
Yeah.
East.
Oh, that's not as...
Get it?
Yeah, all the names of the
'Cause
women
she's-
are ridiculous.
Because she's from the East. Get it?
Hilarious.
This movie is based on an old TV show, and I feel like that people, a baby boomer who is exceptionally woke for a baby boomer, will not find this movie racist.
I don't know. I don't know about that. An exceptionally woke baby boomer, I think, would still find this racist.
I think that most of this movie is in bad taste. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's not actively maliciously racist, but it is like it's all about boundary pushing in that very 90s kind of way, and it doesn't do it well.
Well, first, I do want to get what Ariel thought of this movie the first time he watched it.
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie since, let's say, I don't know, 2001. I don't know. I haven't seen this movie in a long time. Much like you guys, I found it completely forgettable. Mostly because, like, one, it's like a pretty bad Will Smith vehicle. Two, it's like, why would I watch this when there's Men in Black on one side of it and like Shanghai Noon on the other?
Is Shanghai Noon a good movie? I don't know this. I've never seen that movie.
Kind of like Shanghai Noon.
Shanghai Noon is in my top like 10 to 20 movies.
I feel like Shanghai
Okay.
Shanghai Noon is
love
kind of like what this movie wants to be.
Yeah.
Like a wacky, goofy, anachronistic Western comedy.
Yeah, and so like this is like a buddy cop film, right? But with like this weird steampunk angle. But like I said, like you've got Men in Black, I think 2 years before. You've got Shanghai Noon a year after. You've got Rush Hour a year after. Maybe I think in the same year. And so you have like all of these like other buddy cops that are coming out around the same time, and like this is the worst one.
Yeah.
Or the like the worst of the popular.
One
I don't know,
thing
a bunch of stuff
that I want to say in this movie's favor is I think the setting, all those other movies that you named are probably better movies, but I really like the setting of Wild Wild West. Like, I think it's really cool, the set design and the gadgets that they put in this movie. And there's just not a lot of movies that have that. And, like, I always, as a kid, I kind of found the Men in Black movies a little scary. Like, because the aliens kind of creep me out, whereas I thought this was super cool with the cowboys.
Sure.
Even though a lot of parts of this movie may be a little scarier.
Yeah.
But I just really like the setting of this movie, and it's not like there's a whole... Let's say instead of wanting to watch a buddy cop movie, if you want to watch a buddy cop movie, you're not going to reach for Wild Wild West.
No.
But if you want to watch a weird steampunk western, how many choices do you have?
I think there's this or Cowboys and Aliens. I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that
and-
other one. It's probably better.
Yeah, but it also is probably a little less weird, honestly.
Probably.
Like,
yeah.
I don't...
That's that movie. I've never seen it, but judging from like cultural zeitgeist and like Twitter, it's more forgettable than this.
I mean, it must be. Like, I can... if nothing else, you remember Wiki Wild Wild West from this. Like, you don't have
You
a Wiki
remember the
Cowboys
big
and Aliens.
spider.
Yeah, and you'll remember the big spider, yeah.
So, I really want to point out just the insanity that this movie legitimately put. Like, this is one of the first times I think that a white cast TV show was recast to include a black man.
Right,
That's
because
true.
I mean,
Jim
yeah.
West, the main character in the TV show, was a white guy.
Yeah, it was Robert Conrad, who they approached Robert Conrad to play Ulysses S. Grant in this, and he hated the script so much and hated what they did to his show so much that he said absolutely not, and so they had to do that weird Kevin Kline dual casting thing.
Yeah, smart man.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is very not true to the original show. Like,
No.
I've watched some clips of the original show, and, it's a pretty boring show. It's aged... I mean, it's a show... They have hour-long episodes, and there was, like, 25 episodes in a season, so they were just pumping them out, and there is a lot of talking. So it's tough to go back to, but this movie... definitely does not stick to that spirit.
Right. This is kind of... I feel like the TV show is kind of like what they're parodying in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is like Bounty Law or like these totally forgettable like Western sagas. I did watch the opening credits. I haven't watched a full episode of Wild Wild West, but I did watch the opening credit sequence to see if it tied up with the movie opening credit sequence, because I thought that was kind of stylish, like with the boxes and everything like that. And that is a reference to the original, but the original is all animated, and there's a very weird segment where a prostitute is hitting on Jim West, and so he punches her in the face, knocks her on the ground, and then the camera just kind of lingers on that for a few seconds, and then he walks away.
It's like it's like our hero, everyone.
Different time. Yeah, he's our hooker punching hero. Anyway.
This is also Will Smith at his like absolute max, right? The movies before this are Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black, and Enemy of the State.
That's the one I forgot. Enemy of the State. Yeah, that was a pretty big hit too.
I mean, Bad Boys is another buddy cop that are just like, man, I'd rather watch that with Will Smith than this, you know?
Like, but again, I don't think that the buddy cop is what you're picking up Wild Wild West for.
But it is like that genre has been shoehorned in there, and I think it's just because like Will Smith is really good in this genre. Like he works really well when you pair him with kind of like a stiff like older white guy. Like it just works very well. But you need a good script behind it. Like I've talked about Men in Black in the past. Like I think Men in Black is a damn near perfect like summer movie, like a good summer blockbuster. It's a crisp 90 minutes. It's fast. It's fun. It's accessible to every audience, and you're not going to walk away feeling insulted. And there's a good amount of spectacle to it, you know. So I think Men in Black is kind of what you're aiming for, and then this one just whiffed it so hard trying to recreate that same kind of lightning in a bottle moment.
Does anyone here know anything about the Old West hygiene?
About Old West hygiene?
Right, because I'm pretty certain Will Smith was having sex in the town's water.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's living in that water supply. There's a fucking bed and a dresser in there. Like... if I saw that, like, I would not think, oh my god, what a quirky, interesting character choice. I would think, this is a crazy guy who likes to wade through waist-deep water every morning, and he's, like, pissing and shitting and fucking in our water. Yeah. Like, that's really gross. I'd be mad.
There was zero thought put into any like historical Western aspect of this film.
No.
Okay, that to me seems like a tremendously unfair piece of criticism to level at this movie.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. I feel like they were jamming a bunch of the racist stuff in because they thought it would be more period appropriate. But then they're ignoring everything else about that period. Like,
but I don't feel like they're really... I think if they really wanted to be realistic, like... with the level of racism, and like basically Will Smith just kind of walks into like a Southern Pride meeting,
kind of,
and just sort of walks around.
But they mention it.
Yeah, they mention it, but nobody really does anything until he sexually harasses one of the guests.
Right.
Otherwise, they just go and he just sort of talks, and everyone's very happy to see him. So
yeah, exactly. So like to me, I was willing to like you just. Forget like A Knight's Tale. You just kind of forget about it, but like don't mention that, like, you know, don't mention the slavery stuff, don't mention that stuff, and then just don't do anything with it. Am I making sense here?
Right. No, I understand what you like. I kind of would have been happier if they didn't mention it at all. Like if they just kind of like, you could argue that Will Smith is miscast in this, like, but I don't even think that's necessarily the case. I think they just needed to...
all the actors in this movie... So this movie is a bad movie that really has many things going for it. It's very... I think it's very well cast. I would
love to see this cast in a different movie. Yeah. Absolutely. The same exact cast.
Will Smith and Kevin Kline seem like a delightful duo.
Absolutely.
They both seem to be giving it their all.
I want to see them playing dueling inspirational teachers.
Yeah.
Like each one is trying to do their own Dead Poets thing in their own classroom, and they're getting embittered about each other being more inspirational, so they have like an inspiration off. I want to see that movie.
That's a wonderful premise.
I like that. I'm going to do that. All right, nobody steal that. Copyright.
Okay. So, Woody, he didn't sexually assault a guest. He specifically says, I was saying hello.
That's true.
And
quote unquote,
and
drumming on the boobies.
Oh.
Right. And all those rednecks were like, I actually thought he was going to get away with it.
Yeah, they were eating out of the palm of his hand.
Right. And I I actually really enjoyed that scene, not for any of the horrible things, but just how charming Will Smith is in
Where he's
moment.
trying to convince him that redneck is not a derogatory term, and he says, "You got neck."
Yeah,
neck means neck.
I think we just need to illustrate for people who haven't seen this movie. This delightful little comedy bit is taking place during a lynching.
Yeah.
They are threatening to lynch a black man at a plantation party in Louisiana, and he is trying to joke his way out of it by sexually harassing a woman with large breasts. That's the scene.
And it almost
and
works.
It almost works. It very nearly works because she was very flattered at him liking her boobs. And then he said one thing too far, and then she fainted like it's a goddamn cartoon.
Yeah.
So here's my thing as we get into like kind of what we think of the film now. I think Wild Wild West is trying to be like all of these different things. I think it's in one way it's trying to be a steampunk version of Men in Black, but it doesn't quite lean into that enough.
Okay.
I also think there's times where it's trying to be like a parody, kind of like Blazing Saddles.
Almost.
Okay.
And it's just like you're trying to make some of these jokes, but they don't fit in with one, Will Smith,
Right.
and two, like with a bunch of your other like your tones. Like the tones are all over the place. I think it's also trying to be a buddy cop, like Men in Black, like Shanghai Noon, which we'll see later. I think in that same year. But then, like on another hand, it's trying to be like a Western James Bond film, but with two leads. And so,
Yeah.
like,
Well, that's what
Like,
that's what the original TV show was. That was the premise of the
Sure.
original TV show. Is like spy TV was sort of taking over the popularity of the Western genre, and so they're like, let's just shoehorn spy stuff into our cowboy show.
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense. But like, and you can do two of those things, but you can't do four
Yeah.
of those things. And so they just like, well, and we'll get into this after we go around the horn here. Like, there were producers and production notes that interfered with this film. And there's a very famous like anecdote and very famous example, which I'll get into a little later.
Yeah, from what I understand, a lot of the jokes on here were added in post because they had a test screening that went disastrously where nobody laughed and they didn't actually know it was supposed to be a comedy. And I feel like you can see the definite like baby boomer, like older male producer influence on this because they basically shoehorned in a bunch of Bugs Bunny and Three Stooges bits into this like big budget Western action film based on a TV show that had been off the air for 30 plus years and no one remembered. So like it's very much like misguided from the top. Like, I don't know, they wanted to punch it up, but they didn't really have a concept of what was funny in 1999, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Steve, at one point, Will Smith tells Kevin Kline to touch his breast, and the train conductor overhears it and immediately jumps to them being
It's
gay.
funny because gay, get it?
Right? And then later, Will Smith's magnetic collar attaches to Kevin Kline's belt buckle, which is such an awkward situation. Oh, he's right next to his schlong doodle.
This, like, very equal opportunity offender, this movie. Like, this movie hates black people, it hates white people, it hates disabled people, it hates women a lot. Yeah. Oh, God, I think
it hates women more than...
It hates women more than anything in the world. The Selma Hayek's character in this has to be the worst written female character of all time.
Oh my God,
I cannot
Artie.
think of a worse female character. Like she has zero agency. She's like a simpering damsel in distress for a lot of it. Like she gets a lot of sexism and abuse hurled at her that she just kind of shrugs off. And then she's like needlessly manipulating them with her sexuality. Like,
Well, that's what's confusing
there's
about
no
the way
point.
that she's written.
Yeah.
Is that is she sort of comes off as this really dopey person, but she'll occasionally be really smart in order to advance the plot.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's kind of revealed that she, was sort of manipulating them. But you're like, why was that even in there? Why didn't... I don't know.
I feel like
Then she's sort of maniacal for no
we see
reason.
her ass.
it's taking a page, I think, from the movie Maverick. Did you guys see that with Mel Gibson? Like in that movie, Jodie Foster is like she's kind of a call girl, but she's also like a con artist, and she's like 10 steps ahead of everybody in the movie. So it's very twisty like that. You never really know where her allegiances lie. And I think they were kind of trying to do something like that, but they forgot how to do it, or they like gave up on
They
it
just
halfway.
don't give her enough scenes to develop any kind of character.
No.
The only reason that she's ever in the scene is for the guys to kind of fight over her.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think you might have picked up on something here. Maverick was directed by
Right.
Richard Donner, who was originally supposed to.
Oh, really? Okay.
Right.
Didn't this
Yeah.
one? This one made the rounds for a while, right? Like it went from director to director because nobody really wanted to do it.
Yeah, and they needed to attach Will Smith, who was the biggest movie star in the world at the time, to get it made. So something really kind of like frustrating for me as I'm watching a bunch of stuff. After I got frustrated with The Boys, because I don't think it's quite as smart or scathing a commentary as people keep telling me.
Oh,
it
the
is.
Amazon series?
After 3.
Oh, okay.
No, he's
Yeah,
talking
after
about
4
his
episodes.
his two sons.
Oh, okay.
He's
I wasn't
got-
well.
Yeah, right. I rewatched Tropic Thunder,
Okay.
which is, it's just like it is like it's dancing all over the line of genius and absurdity, and like it is just so perfectly offensive in all the right ways, where they're just like they're just in your face telling you that everything we are doing is like, if you ever saw this in the real world, it's like really offensive, but like this is what people are actually like. And like the Robert Downey Jr. stuff and the toxic masculinity of the rap
Right.
star, and and like all this stuff, right? Like the agent and the production company and the absurdity of how actors go. Like can you imagine if this film was treated with that kind of like seriousness in how to be funny and how to be like how to subvert expectations and have a commentary on like, hey, I'm a US military, like they don't even define
Yeah.
what Will Smith's character is.
That's true. Yeah. Is he a sheriff or is he a marshal or like?
He just says US military.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's just like US. And what if the like Russian like women, henchwomen, whatever, she's like US Marshal, US military, and I'm like, who speaks like that?
Okay, Ariel, that was Miss Lippenreader. Who
Yeah.
can read lips.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
so
then-
wait, what are the names of
So there's-
Arliss's, like?
There's Miss East, who's Asian.
Sure.
There's Miss Lippenreader, who reads lips. There's Munitia,
Who's in
is
charge of the
in
guns,
charge of
right? The
guns.
munitions.
And then there's Amazonia, who's very tall.
Great.
Yeah.
But see, like they put jokes in like that to try to be like self-aware and funny, but like it's just not. It's lazy and it's not
Well,
funny.
see,
and
I
so
think the part that's hard is that you guys talking about early. I think that this movie just has a lot of tonal trouble. Like that stuff is
Yeah, yeah.
stupid. All of what you just named is stupid, but it's not stupid. I mean, if this movie is just going to totally lean into being a cartoon, like I can abide some of that stuff, but also one thing you don't want to put in your cartoon is like a massacre of like a slave town, like because that's
Yeah,
not
right.
like fun and goofy. You
Or,
know what I
or
mean?
like, there's some violent shit in this movie. Like, it opens with a guy getting decapitated with a razor blade, and then they
Right.
later take that head and use it as a projector.
Which is a cool bit.
It was a cool bit. I will
See-
give props, like,
see,
as
that
a
to
prop,
me
at least, as a
is
physical
the the heart of why the parts in this movie work that do work is there's some very creative like combination of like old technology and weird things of like shining this light through a guy's head as a projector is like sort of weird and sort of fits the time, but is also just not something you would see somewhere else.
Yeah.
And like the design on the tank is pretty cool. Like they did a good job, like having this technology seem to fit the time,
Sure.
the time while still being in the future.
Yeah,
Or-
I'll
yeah.
give it props for some of the design
Like the set
choices,
design,
yeah.
I think is generally pretty good.
Yeah, and I like the costumes. I think this is a movie. I mean, this movie cost $170 million. Like, you got to see some of that on the screen, So there are some special effects shots that look pretty good, but it's all feels very soulless, Like you can see the seams and everything, and it's yeah.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's the tonal inconsistency and like mishmash that ultimately failed this movie. That changed it from like either a decent action movie or a decent comedy or a something else to whatever it is we got.
Yeah.
here.
Well, and we haven't even mentioned the amazing performance playing
Oh
Foghorn
God,
Leghorn.
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh, who, by the way, my wife noticed this. I didn't. His beard is a spider.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that either. Nice.
Also, his name is Loveless because he doesn't have
genitals.
Okay, well, wait, for what it's worth, Loveless is actually a character in the original Wild Wild West show, who is played by a dwarf.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
Because I know this character is kind of a mashup of two different characters on that show. Like, they took the name Loveless and then they matched his personality with, like, a different character.
Okay, but the character named Loveless in the original show was sort of the most recurring villain, and he was played by a dwarf.
Wow.
So that would not be the origins of that name then, would be.
Well, we also know he made some kind of mechanical dick to...
Oh my god, the dick jokes in this movie.
Did you see, and then did you see the machine that they cut to?
Yeah.
And what is that machine used for? We never see that machine again.
Wait, was that? I think that was the machine that launched the discs. It just randomly had.
Why did it need a big dick on it? Like, why? You could use, like, anything, but you had to create a giant dick to shoot razor
They
blades
should have
at
cut
people?
to the train going through the tunnel as they're driving away.
Yeah,
as
it's like, we're not getting it. Please, drive it home a little more. Like, oh my god. Like, I will say for Branagh, he is having fun. He seems to be the only one who gets...
He knows.
He gets... I don't think anybody really knew what this movie was going to be, but he got that it's supposed to be campy and dumb, so he just swings for the damn rafters. And so he's fun to watch, and he's fully committed. But, oh my god, his character is just a nightmare. Like, the way that they're constantly trading these racist barbs.
Yeah, there's at least 3 scenes between Will Smith and Kenneth Branagh where it's just back and forth of hilarious wordplay based on one person. Kenneth Branagh will say a racist thing.
Yeah.
A racist pun, and then Will Smith will make a pun about having no legs.
It's like if...
Or, yeah, an ableist
I mean, they
thing.
play it off like it's light and fun. It's like it's if Tracy and Hepburn were trying to really hurt each other. Like, that's kind of what they're playing it as. Like, it's supposed to be wacky fun that he keeps, like, insulting the fact that he has no legs. Or, like... And also, this guy's a crazy, like, racist, psychopathic murderer. Why do you keep going to the legs? Like, the one thing that, like, you know, that has nothing to do with him being an evil person. Like, attack his evil personality. Like, why are you going for the legs?
Also, let's talk about his introduction at the Klan rally, where Abraham Lincoln.
They roll in this float of Abraham Lincoln's head, and then it explodes, and Kenneth Branagh pops out of it, wearing his steam stove-top hat himself, I think.
Did you guys have those Ninja Turtles when you were kids that, like, you could push the head down into the shell, and then when you squeeze their legs together, their heads will pop out like they're headbutting? Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
I had one where you would squeeze the legs, and then, like, armor would come out of his shell and, like, go over his head.
Oh, I didn't have those. I wanted that. Yeah, ridiculous character.
The way the script seems written is every character sort of has one element. Like the Selma Hayek character, her element is that people find her hot.
Yeah.
Or the Will Smith character element is that he's black. Mm-hmm. And the Kenneth Branagh character is that he has no legs. And so they're like, okay, we have this, let's just write 10 jokes about all these things about them, so every scene will just fall into this.
Right.
And everything feels like it was like the first pass of like, write script, insert joke here to get to next scene, and then they forgot to go back and actually put in the jokes. So
they poochied the entire thing. Yeah, absolutely.
They just had filler of like, just insert racist comment. And you're like, that's not a joke. That's just like a racist comment. And you're like, yeah, we'll fix it later. And then they're like, oh, you already shot the movie. Okay.
Ugh.
Hey, to be fair, the one time I think that they were going to drop the N-bomb, Will Smith punched him in the
Fair.
face.
And I think that's how they justified it to themselves. It's that, like, it's like everybody in the South is racist, but he gets to punch them, so it's fine. Like,
right. Wait a minute. Oh, I just remembered the scene early on where Will Smith is fighting them naked, and one of them takes the time to look at his junk. And Will Smith is offended by this, but is
like,
also
yeah, what's up?
Yeah. And there's another scene where Kenneth Branagh comments on, he calls him like a surely well-endowed.
He calls him a blackamoor. Oh, God, that's like, yeah, he calls him a well-endowed blackamoor.
He does call him blackamoor.
the only word I remember him saying that like was monochromatic.
Yeah.
When he
what?
interrupts the Confederate ball or whatever.
Yeah, there's so. If I wanted to like learn how to be racist, this is a great starting point.
Also, monochromatic does not make sense as a racist attack because, like, white people are monochromatic too.
Yeah.
Like,
No, he was saying that like you have, like you've brought some color to our monochromatic affair.
okay, that would make a little more sense.
Yeah, it's so like, but that's what I said. Like they keep wanting to try to introduce these like racist jokes and stuff, but like I think they're a few degrees below like everybody is in on the joke. Where like something like Tropic Thunder, where Robert Downey Jr. is like, "What do you mean, you people?" And then the guy is like, "What do you mean, you people?" Like that's hilarious, and that one joke like lets you know that like everybody in the room knows how absurd like this is, and while it'd be hard to pull off today, it's still like it's not quote unquote like offensive. They're doing it to like make fun of, you know, the type of people that would do it.
Right. The joke isn't on like black people. The joke is on pretentious white people taking roles from people of color.
Right. Exactly.
That's why they can get away with it, and also because like nobody else is on board with him doing this. Everyone thinks he's an idiot and asshole. So yeah,
right.
It's a narrow,
just like the Sarah Silverman skit that she got under hot water for recently.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Well, it's a skit from her show where she's arguing with a black person about who has it harder, and to prove that women have it harder than black people, she goes around in blackface.
Oh God.
And everyone is like really mean to her because she's someone in blackface.
Right.
And she's the one who's like, wow, they really do have it hard. Like, and the joke is, it's that. It's just like, it's even insulting that she thinks she can get away with it. Her character is the only idiot.
Right.
So, I mean, I think the core thing about this movie is that it's just really dumb, and that's been talked about. It's really a shame that so much of the jokes boil down to this sort of cruel, like offensive type of, but they're just not good jokes. I feel like that's sort of, that's sort of at the heart of it. And even when the rare occasion when they're not making a joke that's based in sexism or ableism or something. You talked about the line that you would sum up this movie with, and the line that I would sum up this movie with is when Will Smith is fighting a mechanical, sort of half man, half mechanical guys in the middle of this spider, and he hooks one on a chain. This guy who has blades for hands, and as he's about to kick this guy out of the spider, he says, "No more Mr. Knife Guy," and then he kicks him out of the spider, and it's one of those lines where you're like, really? You put that in your movie?
Yeah.
And honestly, that line made me laugh. But it is tremendously dumb.
It's one of those things that cycles around. It's like, this is so dumb that it might be genius.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, there is one scene in this movie that I actually like really artistically appreciated. Was when Will Smith is in Loveless's study, and the painting behind him starts.
I like that.
That
scene
one was
kind of
cool. That was kind of cool.
And then
but it was immediately ruined by Miss East coming in and just out of nowhere putting her ass in the camera.
Wow, what an up close shot of a basically naked ass in a PG-13 movie. Yeah, like right in your face.
Right, and we get to see Selma Hayek's ass like multiple times because she's so stupid that she doesn't know how pajamas work.
Yeah, she does have to spend most of this movie in like a corset, just like a very skimpy like showgirl outfit. And it's demeaning to everyone involved. I mean, we haven't even talked about Kevin Kline. I think people forget Kevin Kline is in this movie because he's just like he's keeping up, but like you can tell he's just not very interested in being in this film. Like we were talking about that. Like we were trying to think of the last like big kind of blockbustery movie he did, And like he mostly sticks to kind of smaller scale comedies.
He's
but there's
not really
like,
a blockbustery type of actor.
No, there's like this and like Beauty and the Beast and like Silverado if you're going back to the 80s. But like, so he's not very comfortable in this special effects kind of venue. Playing the dual characters is weird. Like it just never quite lands because you can never really forget that it's Kevin Kline playing both roles.
I want to see more film renditions of Ulysses S. Grant. I feel like he's just got a really good cinematic look about him. And this is just an era where you don't see many movies made about. I mean, sort of right around this post-Civil War time. And I just like the style.
Incidentally, I did have to look up that last stupid joke in this when he said the President Grant decided to name them the first members of the Secret Service. That was not correct. Obviously, the Secret Service was created in 1865, 4 years before this was set, and it was meant to be a task force to identify counterfeiting because that was really rampant at the time. Okay. And it wasn't...
Yeah, that I knew.
It wasn't until after McKinley was assassinated in 1902 that they shifted that service over to presidential detail. So, sorry, Wild Wild West, you're not very accurate. But your spider physics are on
that's
point.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Spider flamethrower.
Do you guys know the story about this spider? Like, have you heard Kevin Smith's story about it? Like, so like Kevin Smith was supposed to be writing Superman Lives back in 1995, 97 for Tim Burton starring Nicolas Cage. And so he went to go meet with the producer, this guy named John Peters. And John Peters is kind of like this legendary dude. He started as a hairdresser in Hollywood. Started
for Barbra Streisand.
Yeah, for Barbra Streisand. Started dating her, got a producer credit on some of her movies, and then kind of broke off into his own career. He went on to make like Rain Man and Color Purple and like Caddyshack, a lot of really big movies. And then he produced Batman in 1989 and became like the biggest name in Hollywood, and he was controlling all these superhero movies. So he met with Kevin Smith and they were working on the script, and he was willing to let him do pretty much anything he wanted. He said he was keeping it loose, but his one big caveat was that in the end of that movie, Superman has to fight a giant spider. He just has to. It has to be a city-sized spider, and he has to fight it. Like, he was very insistent on this part of his vision. And ultimately, that film didn't work out. But then Kevin Smith tells the story, 2 years later, he's seeing this movie, Wild Wild West, produced by John Peters. And sure enough, it's very, very giant spider focused. So I don't know what happened to John Peters at some point in his life, but he's very afraid of spiders.
Yeah, so
maybe it's a fetish thing.
It could be a fetish.
It's a hilarious, right? It's a hilarious story, but it's also really depressing. Where it's just like, you have certain people who are very, very creative and have these great eyes for film and are great actors or great writers or cinematographers or whatever. But like everybody knows at this point that like the people at the top are like these old white guys who simply know somebody. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason this guy is a producer on Batman. And I don't believe for a second that he had anything to do with the success of Batman, besides like waving his, money covered, thing around. But it's just like, this guy has no idea how to make movies in 1995. Like, if you're 1995, you're not making a movie with Superman fighting a giant spider. Mm-hmm. Now, you can do that in 2019, but I still can't think of a scenario unless it's a Stephen King, and Superman Zack Snyder crossover where Superman should be fighting a giant spider. Right. It's just like, unless you're Kevin Feige and you're at the top, right? And now he doesn't have Ike Perlmutter. Yeah. So even he had restrictions. Unless your name is Kevin Feige and you're just like, hey, I'm the one calling the shots and I can make a mistake here or there, but look, I've made 25 movies and none of them are worse than a C-.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Looking at you, Thor: The Dark World.
Right, exactly.
But it's just like, it's really frustrating because you look at this, you look at Raimi's Spider-Man 3, and you look at a bunch of other films and you're like, man, if people who make art are just allowed to make art, and I think a lot of people forget that movies are art and not just a business, then the movies are better for it.
Yeah.
We don't get this weird, tonally inconsistent steampunk giant spider film. We don't get this weird Superman Lives with Nick Cage, but he's not allowed to wear the costume and he has to fight a giant spider. We don't get 5 villains in Spider-Man 3. We don't get And even today, I don't know if you heard, there was a report where Kevin Feige would keep trying to help Sony on their movies as in an attempt to build up goodwill so they can strike a deal for Spider-Man.
Right.
And he gave them a bunch of notes for Spider-Man 2 saying, don't do this, you've got too many villains, don't do this, don't add this plot line, and they ignored all of it.
Oh, really?
You can tell.
You can tell, yeah.
Yeah, you can tell that movie's terrible.
I mean, this movie in particular feels like a perfect example of 90s bloat of these gigantic, let's put a movie star and a bunch of special effects and a bunch of money and we'll worry about the script maybe never. I feel like that was in the 90s, this type of movie, this level of stupid blockbuster was kind of the standard. And nowadays, we still have big, huge, expensive blockbusters, but they're rarely this dumb. I think it's kind of the exception now. I think the last one I saw that was legitimately this dumb was you mentioned Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. I think that was one of the stupidest big screen movies we've had in the last couple of years.
Oh, that movie's horrendous.
It's horrible. But yeah, it's the exception now. It's pretty rare for a movie to be this sloppy and this poorly put together and this just straight up dumb.
Well, right, and this expensive.
Yeah.
That's the kick.
And it's kind of the last gasp of this movie star era where it's you could sell a movie based on an actor's name. There are very few. Tom Cruise is kind of the last guy who can do that now. Will Smith can't even really do it anymore.
He's making another attempt.
He's making another attempt. He's got that Gemini Man coming out that might be all right. It's Ang Lee, so I'm not going to write it off completely. And then the racist ogre movie, which I'm never going to watch. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Bright on Netflix.
Oh, right, yeah.
And Suicide Squad, which I think actually, hot take, I think I might hate more than Wild Wild West. I think Suicide Squad is the worst Will Smith movie. I'm going to go on the limb there.
I don't know. Have you seen After Earth?
I have not seen After Earth. I have not. That's true. Yeah, I have not seen that one. I do know he plays a guy named Cypher Rage, which is the greatest movie title or movie character name of all time.
So just to put into perspective how big the budget was in this movie, there are only 2 movies that were more expensive to make than Wild Wild West.
Titanic and Waterworld?
Titanic and Waterworld.
And there aren't even any water tanks in this one.
Oh, there is a water tank.
Oh, there is. You're right. Yeah, that's right. They fuck in it. Yeah. that tank cost $100 million. Will Smith's fuck tank.
He
also turned down The Matrix for this.
He turned down The Matrix for this.
This was an overcorrection, I think.
Yeah. He said he still considers this the worst career decision he's ever made and is passing on The Matrix for this. And
was it for? I'm assuming it was for Neo.
Yeah, okay. It was for Neo. Yeah. Interestingly, the girl Garcelle Bouvet, who is in the water tank with him in the beginning,
credited as girl in water tank.
Even though he says her name is Belle, yeah, they credit her as girl in water tank. She was in the news today because she has just been added to the cast of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and she's the first African American woman to be added to that cast.
What a milestone!
I know. So it was just interesting seeing that on my news feed. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard from her since Undercover Brother, and now, yeah. So interesting that it would come up today.
Speaking of in the news today, or I guess 2 days ago, we got our first look at the Wild Wild West comic that was almost made.
Really?
Yes. You can look up and see some outlines of it. DC Comics was going to make a movie tie-in, and the only reason it was not released is because Will Smith would not sign off on using the character's likeness or his likeness in the character.
Oh yeah, he and everybody involved really tried to distance themselves from this movie after they saw it. They all really Will Smith actually wrote a personalized apology to Robert Conrad, saying, "I'm sorry. We made this movie in good faith. We did not know it would be this bad." And then Robert Conrad showed up to accept all of their Razzie Awards just as an extra, just as an extra fuck you. It's I'm not in this movie, but I'm going to accept these Razzie Awards.
I really want to know what the humorless edit looked like.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like this movie would play better without the jokes. There's
Almost,
still, for as much as we've been dumping on this movie, there's still a lot that I like about this movie, and I think that the action set pieces of him releasing himself from the train to go back and fight Loveless on the other train are good. There's a lot of like fun action set pieces here. It just really gets slowed down by these sort of attempts at jokes that are just not funny. And I feel like the reason that I enjoyed this movie before and still kind of enjoy it is because as a little kid, I just wasn't aware of all the sexism and stuff. That stuff just kind of flew over my head or under my feet.
Yeah.
And I was just able to enjoy all the cool gadgets and stuff. So I feel like if they focus on that stuff, you have a movie that's a lot better. I mean, basically.
Yeah, if you did this as like old-timey Mission Impossible with the same exact cast, yeah, you could have a super fun time with it. And just like make a collective decision as a group to just say, fuck logic, fuck historical accuracy. Let's just make the goofiest like spy thriller set in the West that we can come up with.
But but goofy, not in a way where the characters all seem like they're not taking it seriously.
Or
I
like
feel
they're
like
stupid, yeah.
I feel like your description there is really good because the Mission Impossible movies work because like all the characters are like, this is really important and we need to focus all our energy. And so even though the action scenes are crazy in that movie, everyone seems to be taking them seriously. Whereas in this, right from the beginning, Grant is like, this guy's going to destroy our country, and then they get into a fight about their horse versus his electronic bike. And you're like, you guys aren't even taking your mission seriously. Like, why should we care? And so I feel like if you like have both Kevin Kline and Will Smith playing it super straight and just have this super goofy action, you have a much better movie.
Well, and this made me think, like, this does a thing that, like, it annoys me in every movie except the Mission Impossible series, which is that the gadgets are so specific to very, very certain situations happening. Like, a person needs to be moved to one very specific spot for anything to work. Like, all the gadgets in Wild Wild West are like that. Like, to the point where when he gets strapped to the pool table and flipped underneath the train, there's a lever down there for flipping the chair. Right. Why is that down there? Right. Why does that need to be there? It doesn't need to be there, but it needs to be there for the joke to land. And, like, Mission Impossible does the same thing, but everybody's committed to it. Right. And, like, they know how to pace it and they know how to make the stakes. So, like, you know inside that it's preposterous, but you're still kind of involved. And I think that's where Wild Wild West misses it.
There was a funny line that I wrote down here where Lovelace is like, if you don't sign this paper to give me the United States, I'm going to destroy this town. And there's like 6 buildings in the town. And they go through it.
We're going to destroy the Spawn movie ranch.
And I'm like, and it's like, what is his plan? Like, you're going to kidnap the president, he'll sign a piece of paper. You know what happens if the president dies? They make somebody else president. The plot is so ridiculous.
Yeah, it happened not too long before this movie was set. Yeah, they can just look at that. I'm very surprised that the flag that Lovelace comes up with, that like gunmetal gray Confederate flag with a spider in the middle. I'm very surprised white supremacists have not adopted that. That's like, that looks like something the alt-right would use right now.
I'm pretty sure that like if we went on forums posing as them, like we could push that symbol.
See,
they're not a very bright group.
Yeah, I don't want to do that, but you know, I probably shouldn't be putting that out there and giving the ideas. But it's not like they're sullying something I care about, like they did with Mac Tonight. Except I don't care about Mac Tonight.
Okay, let's get into the last couple of things here.
Yeah.
What is this movie's cultural impact?
It did not stop the Lone Ranger from being made.
Somehow, yeah, remarkably, yeah.
Oof. Okay, so
has there been any of these revivals of like things from the 50s or 60s that have been successful? Maybe they made like that Green Hornet movie.
Yeah, that was
I've got one.
Mission Impossible is a big one. Yeah, okay, we forget.
damn.
Like the movies have eclipsed the TV show so completely. Yeah.
The Mask of Zorro, Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, that one was pretty fun.
They're making a new Charlie's Angels.
The Johnny Depp.
They are, yeah.
Sorry,
the Johnny Depp movie where he's a vampire.
Dark Shadows.
Dark something.
Oh yeah, people love that movie.
Yeah,
like you couldn't escape it. Like everywhere I go, like
I don't get it.
Have you seen that Dark Shadows movie? It just like was everywhere. This was not the case.
I think wasn't the Brady Bunch movie kind of successful because like they were winking. That was
very
but that
winking. Was back in the 80s.
That was 95.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was very winking. Yeah.
But yeah, they knew exactly. They were like, what if these characters, no changes made to them, were alive in our society.
Yeah, that's a clever way to like approach something like that. But as far as cultural impact, I feel like this song is still a banger. The theme song, the Wild Wild West theme song.
It's better than the Men in Black theme song, right? I mean,
actually, kind of. Yeah, I think so. Maybe just because they're building off of a Stevie Wonder song that I really like. But like,
that's the thing, right? That Stevie Wonder song's a banger.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still remember there was a moment on the VMAs back in 1999 where Will Smith and Sisqo and Stevie Wonder came out and they were all performing this song live. And then after the song was over, everybody left Stevie Wonder sitting on the stage.
Oh, man.
Like nobody came to escort him off.
Geez.
Like they forgot the man cannot see. And they just left him sitting there. And he was kind of still on stage while the next group was coming out and announcing the next series of awards.
Man.
So they just kind of forgot him. That was a great moment.
I do think another legacy of this was it was very bad for Barry Sonnenfeld's career.
What happened?
When you consider that, I mean, he directed Men in Black, which was one of the biggest movies of
the 90s, definitely.
The 90s, yeah. And had, all that whole series was big, and then he just kind of faded into obscurity to direct the Kevin Spacey Cat movie.
Yeah.
I did. Well, I think once you have a movie that was, because this movie was kind of a flop.
Yeah,
I mean, like it lost
like $70 million.
Right,
yeah.
It lost a lot of money, and that most of that is because it was just so damn expensive to make. But
I was reading something that said that analysts kind of suspect that a lot of the box office for this movie was from kids buying tickets to it and then sneaking into American Pie or South Park, like R-rated movies that they weren't allowed to buy tickets for. So that was the theory at the time. I don't know if that's true.
Though again, I do feel like this movie is a ideal demographic for the kind of kids who would sneak into an R-rated movie.
Sure,
because you're really getting quite a bit from your PG-13 rating.
You get to see Will Smith.
You really do.
There's a lot of like upper half of boob in the first couple minutes of this movie.
There is, yeah. What was that time frame again on Will Smith's balls? Just for
5 minutes and 40
Okay,
seconds.
I'm just asking.
Andy's
for a
getting
friend.
that tattooed on his
the friend
eyes.
is me.
By the way, he does not manscape.
No.
But this movie also did end racism.
It did, finally. So
Okay? By showing that everyone can make fun of the man in the wheelchair.
Oh, God. Oh.
Gosh. Okay. It's tough. I think one of the things that like the cultural impacts from this movie is kind of like, one is the spider thing with John Peters, and the other is like the Neo thing with Will Smith, where it's just like the world changes if Will Smith takes that role, because it was supposed to be Will Smith as Neo, and Morpheus as Sean Connery.
Oh, right,
and both of them turned it down, and like. And Will Smith made this, and Sean Connery made The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and then resulted to never appear in film again.
Yeah. That would have been such a different movie. I feel like...
it would have been night and day.
I think we got the better end of that deal because 1999, Sean Connery was phoning it in. Like, he had one eye on retirement the entire time. So most of his performances from, like, The Rock on are just, like, sleep mode. And this one gave us Lawrence Fishburne being very enigmatic and cool.
Yeah, he also Sean Connery also turned down Gandalf.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did. Thank God too.
Oh God. Also, all the Burger King tie-in. Like this movie went hard on the product.
Oh, I missed those.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was like I don't know. I just remember having like 3 of the toys from all the Happy Meals and seeing the commemorative cups because my grandmother was one of those people who like
the commemorative cups. Like you hang up, you go get a cup. This is my display of Wild Wild West cups from when the movie came out. Right. Where were you in 1999?
I've got it bookended between my Fabergé eggs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember like 3 distinct different Wild Wild West cups because both my grandparents loved the TV show. So for me, I can never think of Wild Wild West without thinking of Burger King.
I was living like way out in the woods at this time. I was like nowhere near fast food restaurants, so I missed out on all these cool tie-ins. But I'm bummed about that.
All right. Last thing before we head out here. Let's go around the table. What is our favorite thing from the 1999 masterpiece of Wild Wild West?
Man, you want to start, Woody?
Sure. I like the scene. I like the scene a lot where they're in this little perimeter, and then the thing shoots out a blade to like track their magnetic collar. I think that's a very clever mechanism, and a cool set piece of them running through this sort of rows of corn, and you get this overhead shot of the blade just sort of cutting through that. And I do think that the scene that follows, where they reverse the polarity on the neck piece and they end up sticking to each other, is a funny, well-done piece of physical comedy. And I feel like it's also an opportunity for Kevin Kline to really sort of lose it when he talks about how he's the machine guy. And that scene, I laughed multiple times at that scene. I think that scene is funny and good.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they run in opposite directions.
Yeah, and then they get pulled back and bash against each other. I feel like that's really a scene where they're sort of able to really play off each other well, and it's not just based on these sort of very baseline stereotypes. Like, it feels good-natured and fun, whereas a lot of the other jokes just kind of make you feel icky.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Like, it doesn't totally work for me because, like we mentioned, it does need to work in a good amount of gay panic humor to make that work. But there are some funny bits in there, and like I liked them bickering, and I did like Kevin Kline yelling at that point. I can't believe we have not actually even talked about both actors in drag, but maybe it's better that we forget that.
So much drag.
I bet they
movie.
both want to forget that happens.
Yeah.
Again, with the Bugs Bunny shit. Like, this is all stuff. Like, there's a scene Will Smith comes in dressed in drag and he seduces Loveless. And, like, this is Bugs Bunny level stuff that Elmer Fudd wouldn't fall for. But Loveless, the super genius who makes mechanical spiders, he falls for it completely. He's all about it.
Yeah, they interrupt this international meeting of governments so Will Smith in a belly dancing outfit can come dance for him. It's super weird. And he just sort of makes weird, like, high-pitched... Have you seen the movie Kung Pao Enter the Fist?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. But they're doing it like somehow this is really sexy, whereas in that movie he's just making fun by making this weird voice.
Yeah, it's like a Miss Piggy voice almost. It's just ridiculous. I will say, if I'm saying something nice, I kind of liked the like, all right, they were pointless and they weren't set up very well, but I liked some of the character designs on the goons that he's fighting. That are like kind of all disfigured in weird ways, like the guy with the metal head and the spike between the eyes and things like that, and the knife hands, like very, very stupid, but some clever designs there. And the guy with the metal head was played by Derek Mears, who is now Jason Voorhees, and recently starred in the Swamp Thing TV show that was sadly short-lived. But and he's a good guy, like he's really cool. But yeah, I don't have a lot to defend in this movie. As I've said, like I think it looks competently made for the most part. Like it's poorly edited, but like the cinematography is kind of nice. There's some interesting like canted angles and shots that show like a little bit of that spirit that Sonnenfeld brought to the Addams Family movies. Like there's a little bit of that there. Yeah, and I think I like the cast a lot, but it just, man, I want them in just a different movie, just a totally different movie.
Okay, I will say that I really liked the design of like the costuming and the weird little gadgets and gizmos. Yeah. For the most part, I thought that they were really well done. They were really well made. And I really like the wheelchair that has a button to just fire a bullet
from behind it.
Again, with a very specific gadget. Like, person needs to be in a very specific place for that to have any effect.
Yeah, I guess I'll go last before we head out here. I really enjoyed any time where Will Smith got to be like himself. Now, some of a lot of it was like really offensive when he's speaking to Loveless. Or when some of the thing with the lynching, but like the lynching thing, like it reminds me almost of the scene where he like shoots the little cardboard cutout of the girl in Men in Black, where it's like, yeah, you know, this guy's like working out, but like it's like classic Will Smith, and you're like, man, if you just gave him, like, if he was able to do this for 80% of the movie instead of 20% of the movie, like the movie goes over much, much better.
Oh yeah,
instead of him doing this like really corny, like Western outlaw, like, I don't know, it's like a cardboard, it's like a cardboard cutout of a Western outlaw performance. But instead you want to get Will Smith, you want him to be a movie star for you.
Yeah.
Right? The whole thing about movie stars, like they act the same way in every film. Like Tom Cruise is the same character in all of his big budget action films.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, like he's in Top Gun and in Mission Impossible and in I don't know, any movie that's not like his Oscar baity stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's doing the same thing. And like that's okay. Like The Rock is doing the same thing in all his movies. And you know what?
Keanu's the same way, yeah, totally.
Keanu, like that's why you get them. Like they have certain projects that they want to be movie stars and certain projects where they want to get Oscar buzz. And like this one, you should have let Will Smith just be himself. So
what,
anytime
you're saying
he's
Will
trying,
Smith wasn't going for the Oscar buzz with Wild Wild West?
No, he did that
nude
with
cowboy punching scene.
No, but it's it's trying to fit a square round peg in a square hole, so to speak.
Yeah,
and like you can tell because he wasn't like he wasn't the original like fit for this, and he wouldn't have been for the Matrix either. Like we said that it wouldn't have worked in the way that made the Matrix so relevant all these years later. And we'll get to that film maybe in a week or two or so. But yeah, you forget it's been a long time since Will Smith was a movie star.
Yeah,
about 20 years, in fact. But that stretch of like a Bad Boys, Independence Day, there's something else in the middle there, and then Men in Black in '97. Like you're just like, man, this guy's so good and he's so charming. And I don't know what in the world happened here.
He was in Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
That's
and I think the next couple years of his career were kind of going for more prestige things like Ali, you know, and things like that, which with mixed success. But I think he is still kind of like, I think he's kind of the closest thing we have. People say George Clooney, but I think Will Smith is the closest thing we have to Cary Grant anymore. Like being able to play like this very smooth, debonair kind of guy, but in a more modern sense, So I think Will Smith is great. But yeah, this is probably his worst movie. Besides Suicide Squad, I think this is his worst movie. Yeah, and I would go so far as to say I think this is the worst movie of 1999.
That's interesting.
Some slight competition there from Inspector Gadget, but otherwise, I think those are the two.
Saw that
worst.
movie in the theater too.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Would you say this is worse
I
than the
saw it in
Phantom
the
Menace?
theater, too.
Ooh, Phantom Menace has more redeeming qualities than either of those others.
Right,
I
that
think.
one scene in Phantom Menace is way better than anything from any of
Yeah,
them.
pod
racing.
racing and the dual lightsaber battle like redeems them enough.
And Jar.
Everyone's
Wait.
favorite character, Jar Jar. Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, all right. So I have a fun game where you can tell how aware of racism your
no.
friends are. Okay?
I don't like where this is going.
Sit them down to watch this movie and play a drinking game where every time a character says or does something racist, sexist,
Oh
drink.
God!
Oh, no.
I feel like you get to the end of it,
They're
and like, oh
sober
shit, Gary
halfway
didn't
through.
drink at all. All right, Gary's a total racist.
Right, exactly. Gary, you've got the MAGA hat. So we're done.
Oh yikes!
Yeah, 1999 was a good movie. Or Dudley Do Right, maybe not great.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull up Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Man, I forgot
Rotten
Fight Club was
Tomatoes.
1999.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a huge year. Election and Office Space and Eyes Wide Shut and all these. There were a lot of incredible movies that year, and then there was Wild Wild West.
Toy Story 2.
Go on.
Toy Story 2. You know,
Oh, yeah, that
Bowfinger.
Oh, Bowfinger's one of my favorites.
Stuart Little.
Yeah.
Stuart Little's my other favorite. Those are my two favorite movies. Everybody knows this are Bowfinger and Stuart Little.
And Wild Wild
And
West
TV.
is number 3.
Wild Wild West is a close third.
Steve has only seen 3 movies
I've
in
seen
his
3
life.
movies. So everything
Super
is on a
Mario
scale of Bowfinger to Wild Wild
And
West.
Stuart Middle's right in the Stuart Middle. you
Stuart
call
Middle,
it.
that's what I call it. It's like the
That's
nice
where it is
creamy
on your
Stuart
scale.
Middle. Yeah, exactly. Interestingly, my middle name is Stuart, so there you go, Stuart Middle. Yeah. Anyway, that's not interesting.
Is there have we
Genius is
beaten
also
Wild
came out.
Wild West into the ground? Is there any more?
Like the proverbial robot horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how come
The
this
Wing
movie has no
Commander
robot
movie
horse?
came out.
Yeah, where's the robot horse? There's an Air Gordon. We have that.
Another hilarious line.
Woof.
What are you thinking calling this
Woof.
Air Gordon?
Oh, my Lord.
People were rolling in the aisles.
Yep, that one.
They were rolling in something. Okay, so just to give the audience a glimpse here, here's a couple of movies that we'll be doing on the Geek 101 1999 retro reviews. We are definitely going to hit up The Matrix. We are definitely going to hit up The Mummy.
I like
We're
the
Man,
definitely gonna hit
Brendan
up the
Fraser
Phantom
was in a
Menace.
lot of movies.
This was his time, man.
Yeah.
This was his time.
Yeah, we are. So we're definitely going to do those two. We're definitely going to do Phantom Menace. Like I said, the other options, if we can get to them, are Sleepy Hollow, the Iron Giant,
I love the Iron Giant.
Pokemon the first movie. That's going to be an adventure. I think that's it. If we can fit it in, and this will make
Galaxy
Andy
Quest.
happy, we might do Mystery Men.
Oh, yeah. Underrated movie.
which-
Underrated.
Right.
Wait, what about Galaxy Quest?
Galaxy Quest
yeah.
is a
I-
must.
I love
Sorry.
Galaxy Quest.
We're gonna try to hit the ones that have better conversations. So I think Sleepy Hollow and Mystery Men are actually at the lower end of that ringer there. So
Sleepy Hollow is just kind of boring.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah,
it
see,
has
that's-
some
it's like
cool
it's-
moments, but yeah.
it fits our MO like Mystery Men does.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're just like, man, like how much do we have to say? I think the Iron Giant, Galaxy Quest, The Matrix, and Phantom Menace are just like we're talking about these. There's no discussion. They are absolute cinema classics
Oh, yeah.
in one way or another. So I want to thank Stephen Woody for coming on from Ultra 64. If there's another ridiculous retro review that I hate, I'm sure that you guys will love it and want to come on and talk about it.
Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah.
See,
yeah.
no. I'm a big, you know what? I think we will have you on for that. The video game connection, the
Sure.
reboot's happening. We just got a bunch of news dropped. Louis Tan is cast as an unconfirmed lead.
Yeah.
We don't. So far, we have a Sonya, we have a Shang Tsung, we have a bunch of other people. We don't have a Liu Kang, and we don't have what's his name, Johnny
Cage. Yeah.
Cage. We don't have either of those guys, and I think Louis Tan can do either. I'd actually rather see him as Johnny Cage. We have Joe Taslim from the Raid who's Sub-Zero.
Oh, nice.
We have wow, I can't find his name. Famous Japanese actor who's playing Scorpion. Oh, Hiroyuki Sanada, who is in a ton of stuff, and if you Googled him, you would definitely.
Is
see
he
it. So-
is he Ichi the Killer? I might be confusing him with someone else. Apologies. I'm forgetting names, but yeah.
He is. He was in Westworld very recently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen the new season.
He was the samurai in Westworld very recently. So let me pull up Hiroyuki Sanada. He was in Last Samurai. He was in Endgame for a hot second. He was in the Wolverine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a very famous like Japanese actor. And like Japanese audiences are like they treat him with like a ton of respect, and he's often reduced to like bit roles, unfortunately.
Okay.
In American cinema, when in reality he's like a really serious like actor over there. So, but yeah, Mortal Kombat seems like a good idea. I'm pretty excited for that. Andy, anything else before we sign off here?
No, man. I just can't wait to see a good movie from him.
There are many of them. There's many to choose from.
Yeah, I think just scheduling wise, it worked out that this one was first.
Yeah.
But we'll
This is
get
kicking
around.
off your series.
Oh, no. Yeah, this is not a good indicator of what the year of 1999 was like in movies.
Yeah, but it was fun to talk about. at the very
Absolutely.
least.
Absolutely.
Okay, the guys from Ultra 64, Stephen Woody. I don't know how you want to do this, but why don't you share where and how our listeners can reach out to you or find your works?
Absolutely. So we are the hosts of the Ultra 64 podcast. So you can find us at ultra64podcast.com. You can email us there.
Clear, because I don't think this has come up yet. It's a Nintendo 64 podcast.
Yes.
And we're playing through every game on the system.
We are, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're coming up on our 100th episode. That might actually be out by the time this episode's out, where we will be playing Mario Kart. So it's going to be a big one. And it's been really fun. We also have another podcast that we just launched called Just Friends, And that's where myself and Woody and Michaela Nicholson are reading through all of David Foster Wallace's Infinite Jests, about 50 pages at a time. And we're discussing it. We mean it as kind of like a motivational thing to get people reading that book, because it's one a lot of people put off. And
it is full of content.
It is definitely large. So check out both of those wherever you get podcasts. They're all available now. And Ultra 64 Podcast is kind of our name on everything. So feel free to look us up.
Yeah, I just rewatched The Count of Monte Cristo, and I was like, man, I should read that book. And I like picked it up off my bookshelf, and I was just like,
You drop it and break your toe.
Yeah, maybe I should. I dropped it. I cramped as I tried picking it up off the bottom shelf. Andy, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Hebrews Paleo.
Or you can find me at Dread Pirate Rod. You can find this show at Geek 101 Podcast on Twitter and Facebook and Patreon. Email us geek101pod@gmail.com. That's all we have for today. Class dismissed.